All right. Very good morning to one and all. So, we are actually moving on to the first module of academic writing. And in academic writing, we'll be dealing with the styles of different styles of sentences, how to construct sentences, how to construct or organize the different paragraphs, which will be much more useful for you to understand the level of academic as well as general writing trends. So moving with the introduction, what is academic writing? So before that, you can see that there is a quotation from Ernest Hemingway. It's none of their business that you have to learn to write. Let them think you were born that way. So it is none of others' business that you have to learn to write. It is your own business to create something that is useful for writing. So let the others think you were born that way. You know, earliest style also before Hemingway, I should say, in the BC, even Aristotle and Plato also discussed about the same thing when Aristotle came up with, or Plato came up with, in fact, mimesis or imitation of arts, imitation of writing. So when people started understanding a different language, they normally copied from someone else. So that is kind of mimesis. Mimesis is imitation. So you are imitating others' style. So in this case, in English, you are imitating the standard English format, how to organize your writing in the right manner. So that is the most important, that's the core area of focus when you consider academic writing. So what is academic writing? So academic writing is a clear, concise, focused, structured, and backed up by evidence. Its purpose is to aid the reader's understanding. So basically, your academic writing is structured in order to aid the reader's understanding. You're helping others. Similarly, in the case of speaking, what you're doing, you're communicating your ideas with others. You're sharing your ideas with others. You're sharing the message with others so that they will be able to understand your thoughts. They will be able to understand your ideas. So that is the basic purpose of speaking. Similarly, in writing also, what you're doing, whatever you write, that's been shared with someone, that's shared with a reader for their understanding. So it has a formal tone in academic writing. You know that it's very formal, and the tone and style is definitely formal, and it is not complex, very simple, and does not require the use of long sentences and complicated vocabulary. So that is the most important thing. It has a formal tone and style. It is not complex and does not require the use of long sentences and complicated vocabulary. And as you know, for arts and humanities, you have a different style. For science subjects, you have a different style. For arts and humanities, as we've discussed before, you're following the Modern Language Association's structure and the format developed and designed by the Modern Language Association. But on the other hand, for science stream, for the science researchers and students, they are following the American Psychological Association's structure and format. So each subject discipline will have certain writing conventions, vocabulary, and types of discourse. It depends upon the subject, it depends upon the discipline that you design, that you frame your writing conventions, that you add your vocabulary on the basis of your discipline, not someone else. But the structure and format is being designed by Modern Language Association for the arts and humanities students. But for the other science students, it is the American Psychological Association. So what are the basic characteristics of academic writing? So basically, academic writing is planned and focused. You cannot write or you cannot complete an academic essay without planning. Even if you are trying to attempt an IELTS essay or IELTS Task 2 essay, you will get the first 2 to 3 minutes to plan and stay focused on the topic, to understand the topic. So planning and focusing is very important when it comes to academic writing. You cannot simply straight away enter into the introductory paragraph, or you cannot simply enter into writing an essay without planning. So planning and focusing is very important when it comes to academic writing. And it should be structured and well organized as well. Should be coherent in the sense it should be connected, interconnected. Interconnection of ideas is very important when it comes to academic writing. These are all the basic stuff. These are the foundational stuff for academic writing. We will go into the more deeper analysis of the different structures of sentences, paragraphs, and the essentials of sentences and paragraphs in the later slides. So the structure is very important. It is the coherent, written in a logical order, and brings together related points and material. It is what the structure is, what is in the kind of element which is essential for interconnecting the different ideas, the different points that you require. And the third one, evidenced. It demonstrates knowledge of the subject area, supports opinion and arguments with evidence, and is referenced accurately. So you should be planned and focused. It should be well organized or structured, and whatever you write, that should be very clearly evidence. That should be very clearly supported with a lot of evidence as possible. Not as much as possible, as possible. Evidence supported with the proper evidence. So evidence means you are demonstrating a knowledge of the subject area, that the reader will understand that you have a very clear understanding about the subject area, and that the evidence supports your opinion and your argument and is referenced accurately, and that is cited, the citation is done properly. So reference is very important. Citations are very important. It should be formal in tone and style, uses appropriate language and tenses, and is clear, concise, and balanced. So above all, even if it is planned, focused, organized, structured, or evidenced, the language is most important. Language should be very formal. The tone and style should be very formal. It uses appropriate language and tenses, and is very clear, precise, concise, and balanced. Right? So the purpose and audience, moving ahead to the purpose and audience, you should have a fair bit of idea about why am I writing this essay? Why am I writing this article? Or to whom am I addressing this issue? That is very important. That's why, though in the preliminary first 3 to 5 minutes of an IELTS essay or a general essay that you're writing, you should have a fair bit of understanding about who is your audience, whom will be reading your article, your essay, and what is the purpose of your essay, what is the purpose of your article. So the first step to writing academically is to clearly define the purpose of the writing and the audience. So it's the first step. Keep in mind that they are going to read my work, read my writing. The instructors, the facilitators, or someone who is reading it is going to analyze your work. It's the first and foremost thing. Purpose and audience, the first step. Most formal writing at academic level is set by and written for an academic tutor or assessor or an instructor, you name it. And there should be clear criteria against which they will mark your work. So there will be definitely some clear criteria. So for example, in the IELTS essay, there are certain 5 to 10 elements in which your essay will be analyzed, your essay will be evaluated. So most formal writing, academic level is set by and written for an academic tutor. You should have an academic tutor, you have an assessor, you have an instructor. So there will be defined set of criteria against which they will mark your work. So without that, if cohesion is not there, if coherence is not there, if the structure is not proper, if it is not organized well, if the paraphrase is not done properly, if the rephrasing is not done properly, if your opinion is not properly included or incorporated in the concluding part, your mark will go down. So there are certain criteria in which academic writing is being done. So we'll need to spend some time interpreting your question and deciding how to tackle your assignment. So whatever assignment is there in front of you, whatever question is in front of you, whatever problem is in front of you, you will have to find some time interpreting your question to yourself and deciding on the different kinds of definitions of your writing, what you're going to write, what you're going to focus on. So plan on your writing. You will need some time to interpret the question, interpret your understanding as well, and deciding how to tackle your assignment. That's the first important thing. If you're writing for yourself, for example, making notes to record or make sense of something, then you can set your own criteria such as clarity, brevity, and relevance. So, as in the case of a doctor, he's writing in a fast-forward style. So that is good for him. If you're writing some notes for the purpose of preparing an assignment, preparing an essay on a later stage, for the basis of your comfortability, you are writing it. Your convenience, as per your convenience, you're writing it. You set your clarity, you set your brevity, you set your relevance. So your criteria is being set by you if you're writing it for yourself. But if you are setting it for someone, that should be very different. There should be clarity, there should be brevity and relevance for the sake of your writing to be understood by the reader. That's most important. Once you have a clear idea of what is required for your assignment, you can start planning your research and gathering a lot of evidence. A lot of evidence will add more marks to your academic writing. Even if it is for evaluation on the basis of your academic evaluation, academic marks. On the other hand, if you are writing an academic essay, an academic article for publication, that is something different. No one will be there to mark it. No one will be there to evaluate it. But on the other hand, someone will proctor it, someone will understand the depth of your writing, whether it is useful or whether it is valid as per the title of the publication, title of the book. So as per the title of the book, or as per the theme of the publication, your academic essay or article should change. So that is also one of the important purposes in which you prepare academic essay. Now, moving on to the structure of your work. So as mentioned before, planning is very important in preparing an academic essay. So once you have a plan for your writing, you can use this plan to create the structure of your writing. Structured writing has a beginning, middle, and an end, and uses focused paragraphs to develop the argument. So whatever writing or whatever speaking, also even for you're delivering a speech, also they should be having a takeoff and a landing. It should go up, reach the pinnacle, and come down. So it should have a beginning, it should have a middle, and an end as well. So in the middle portion, in the pinnacle of your essay, you should have different elements that fit in together, constituting your introduction and concluding paragraphs together. So that is how you work on. That is how you plan your work on. So the structure, basically the structure, if it is lab or business reports, it will have a fairly rigid structure. You cannot move away from the rigid structure of a business report with headings and content for each section. But on the other hand, in other formats, writing usually follows the same overall structure with an introduction, with a main body, paragraphs, and conclusion. So introduction is one paragraph. Main body is not just one paragraph, 2 or 3 paragraphs is If you feel like it's useful, you can add 2 or 3 paragraphs and a conclusion with your opinion and a rephrasal of the question as well. So that is important. The introduction outlines the main direction the writing will take and gives any necessary background information and context. The context, in the sense, the paraphrasal or the rephrasal of the question. So that itself is the introduction. 2 or 3 sentences, or maximum 4 to 5 sentences, will constitute the introductory paragraph for any essay. For any essay, for all subjects, irrespective of the discipline. But on the other hand, in the main body, each point is presented, as we discussed in the initial session, in the main body paragraph, or whatever, any paragraph. The first line should be the topic sentence. Defining the topic sentence is to be the main idea of that paragraph, the core idea, the crux of that paragraph. So in the main body, each point is presented, explored, and developed. Think of these things: presented, explored, and developed. These points must be set out in a logical order to make it easier for the reader to follow and understand. So it should be arranged, it should be organized in a logical order. It should be arranged coherently, as mentioned initially. Logically connected, to make it easier for the reader to follow and understand. Logically connected with evidences as well. So if you are arguing for a point, you should have supporting evidences as well. It means, for example, in a paragraph, the first sentence, you are supporting the main viewpoint mentioned in the question. The second sentence should be a supporting sentence. Third sentence should be an evidence. Third one, if you have more evidence to substantiate the views pointed out above, that is the main body. That is one paragraph. And of course, the concluding paragraph, the conclusion, brings together the main points and will highlight the key message or argument you want the reader to take away. It may also identify any gaps or weaknesses in the arguments or ideas presented and recommend further research or investigation where appropriate. As we have discussed in the previous session, the concluding paragraph is also very essential here. It may also identify any gaps or weaknesses in the arguments. If you feel like your argument is not proper here, or someone else's argument is not proper here, or the question which is given here, the context which is mentioned here is not up to the mark, that you can mention here in the concluding paragraph. And you can recommend further research as well, because based on your synthesis, you are providing a hypothesis here. That means your research is open for further research or investigation. That is the right structure of an academic essay. So think of that. The conclusion brings together the main points. It's a kind of overview of the entire structure, and will highlight the key message or argument you want the reader to take away. There should be one key message that you support this view. I support the petrol price hike. Why? You have already given out a lot of evidences, and in the concluding paragraph, you are reiterating your point once again, saying that you have solid evidence, you have concrete evidence for why the government is increasing the petrol price. That's it. You have done it for the readers, and the reader has to take it away. And if he or she wants to do some kind of further research on this particular topic, it's up to them. So that is conclusion. So it should be open. The concluding paragraph should be open as always. As mentioned in the body paragraphs, the main body paragraphs, it should be logically arranged. Create a list of your main points and think about what the reader needs to know and in what order they will need to know it. You can bring in from history, you can bring in from the immediate history, and then the current situation. It all depends upon the topic that you receive. It all depends upon how logically you arrange the topics, how logically you arrange your points, your point of view in these main body paragraphs. So create a list of your main body paragraphs, main points, and think about what the reader needs to know and in what order they will need to know it, in what order, how it should be done, how it should be given to the reader. So ask yourself whether each point you have considered really contributes to answering the question. Is the point relevant to your overall argument? So it should be well connected as well. Your point, your different main points that you have mentioned in your paragraph should be connected to your overall argument in the concluding paragraph. So everything is interconnected, should be well organized, well arranged. So ask yourself, whether my writing or whether my point is a valid point which will contribute to the cohesion, to the coherence, to the organization of my essay. You need to ask yourself this question, and then you set out preparing this particular essay. So select appropriate. Don't go blank. Don't go blank when it comes to the concluding paragraph. That can happen. That may happen. So if you are organized, if you are set, then nothing is there to give you a failure. So select appropriate evidence that you will use to support each main point. That's how research works. You are trying to find different evidences from different resources. You are citing it to your bibliography, to your reference. So select appropriate evidence that you will use to support each main point. Think carefully about which evidence to use, because you have done a lot of research. You have taken down a lot of notes on this same point, on the point which you want to stress on. And finally, you are deciding on which evidence that I should add to my paragraph. That is very important. So think very carefully about which evidence to use. You must evaluate that information, as not everything you find will be of high quality. So whatever you read out, whatever you get from the resources that you refer to from libraries or from other resources are of high quality. Don't think that everything is of high quality. Instead, you need to find out that we need to make sure that this one which I have received is of high quality, and that which can be included in your essay, in your article. There are many international, majority of the international universities always strive for high quality references. If you are not using high quality references, they will reject it again and again, and they'll ask you to do it again and again. So always go with high quality evidences, with supporting evidences as well. High quality evidences supported with other facts. Don't go with errors. So grouping your points may help you create a logical order. These groups will broadly fit into an overall pattern, and such as for and against, thematic, chronological, or by different schools of thought or approach. So grouping your points may help you create a logical order. So if you are grouping your points, the main points, the valid points that you have already gathered in from the different resources, and if you can group it in different clusters, that will help you create a logical order, so that it can be interlinked later. So these groups will broadly fit into an overall pattern. So one important thing that you should remember is that don't overflow. You're not supposed to overflow your points into the other paragraphs. It should not come out of the one paragraph to another. It should come out of the brain. Should not come out of the brain. So these groups will broadly fit into an overall pattern, such as for and against. So if you are arranging a point for the sake of for, then that should come under that particular group, that particular set of your understanding on the for. And then if you are going with against, then those valid points which you have collected from different resources against the the context, against the context which is mentioned here. And if you want to add something to the thematic pattern or thematic order, the points should be arranged for themes, chronologically arranged, or by different schools of thought or approach. So if you can do it, if you can group it, if you can group your points, valid points, that will definitely help logically arrange your essay, logically arrange your article or research thesis. You can then put these groups into a sequence that the reader can follow and use to make sense of the topic or argument. It may be helpful to talk through your argument with someone. You can then put these groups into sequence that the reader can follow. So once you have created a logical order with your grouping of points, then you are preparing the essay with the different sequences. One paragraph in one sequence, the other one should be in the other sequence, that you think your reader, because I've already mentioned that, and it is very clear from academic writing, from the perspective of academic writing, that the writer should have a fair bit of idea about whom your reader is. So if you know your reader, then you need to arrange it in such a manner that they will understand it properly. So you can then put these groups into a sequence that the reader can follow and use to make sense of the topic or argument. It may be helpful to talk through your argument with someone. So it's a kind of, if you're arguing it, there are different kinds of essays, like argumentative essays or persuasive essays. So in a persuasive or argumentative essay, you are arguing so that the reader will get definite idea about what your argument is. So if it is chronologically arranged, if it is properly arranged, if it is sequentially arranged with a logical order, then the reader will understand it properly. And just I have mentioned here, there are different kinds of softwares which you can use to arrange logically. If you feel like you are, no, I cannot do it, I won't be able to do it, but it's very difficult, then go for help from some softwares. I don't recommend it. Not just MindView software. There are a number of softwares which will help you to, even for paraphrasing or rephrasing or structuring, organizing, sentence correction, grammatical error correction. A lot of softwares are available. Similarly, MindView softwares are also available to chronology or sequentially arrange, logically arrange your paragraphs and structure of your essays. So that is an additional thing which you can use while you move on to your further career progression or further professional life and all. But now, as academic writers, as students, what you should have to create some kind of style, some passion in writing of your own. After referring to many things, for your assignments and all, refer to a lot of resources, take notes, and prepare your own essay, giving credits to those people. Then you are done. If you're giving credits to those people, you are, absolutely fine with everything. That's accepted worldwide. So think of that in that manner. You would be able to progress in your career, in your student life, and all, in your personal life as well. All right, structure of a paragraph, write in structured paragraphs, use paragraphs to build and structure your argument, and separate each of your points into a different paragraph. Make your point clear in the first or second sentence of the paragraph to help the reader to follow the line of reasoning. So sometimes it happens if a reader is evaluating, analyzing an essay, an article by someone. What will happen is that if, for example, as a facilitator for you, what I normally do is that, for your essays, I always check your introduction and concluding paragraph. And then I go for the introductory line, the introductory sentences of your individual paragraph. If I feel like all the individual paragraph has got valid point with the topic sentence, you're done with it. And majority of the English language teachers or majority of the ELT professionals are following this pattern. They don't go for a complete reading of your essay. But introduction should be valid, whether you, as I mentioned before, introduction should be your understanding of the topic, of the question. You have to paraphrase the question in the introductory paragraph. And conclusion, your opinion should be there, plus the openness, the hypothesis. And the paragraph, as mentioned before, the first or second sentence of the paragraph should be the topic sentence with a very valid point there. So the rest of the paragraph should explain the point in greater details, as I mentioned before, the topic sentence and supporting sentence, evidences, things like that, examples and all. So rest of the paragraph should explain that. Don't go for beating about in the bush within a paragraph. Topic sentence, supporting sentence, evidence, examples, and facts. Finished. One paragraph is set. The rest of the paragraph should explain the point in greater detail and provide relevant evidence and examples where necessary or useful. Your interpretation of this evidence will help to substantiate your thinking and can lend weight to your argument. So your interpretation of this evidence that you have received from some other source, think of that as well. You are giving weight to your brain as well. Your interpretation of this evidence will help to substantiate your thinking, because thinking is the most important thing, be it creative or critical thinking. If you can add it to your paragraph, you are done with it. You can lend weight to your argument. And at the end of the paragraph, you should show how the point you've made is significant to the overall argument or linked to the next paragraph. That's also possible. How you have made is significant to the overall argument of that particular paragraph. Or you can create a kind of deviation towards the next paragraph, a slide towards the next paragraph. That's also possible. Don't go directly to the next paragraph by saying that in the next paragraph, I'm going to decide. It's not that way. But on the other hand, you can mention that while on the other hand, let's discuss about this particular issue in a different manner. And that will come in the next paragraph. It will definitely, the reader would be able to understand it properly. Okay. So that is how a paragraph is to be structured. And in order to, link it, or in order to, deviate from one angle to the other, you should have to change the gears. You should have to, accelerate more. So in order to do acceleration, you should have something called signaling words or discourse markers or connectors, interlinkers. There are a number of phrases and terms that can be used as signaling words, as interconnectors, as discourse markers, interlinkers, which will make your essay beautiful and attractive for the reader to understand the concept in which you are, or the argument in which you are dealing. So let's look on. Let's try to find some of the signaling words and how to use it. So using signaling words will help the reader to understand the structure of your work and where you might be taking your argument. So you know that these signal words, or the discourse markers, as you call, or interconnectors or interlinkers. So adding more information, like furthermore, moreover, additionally, in addition to what I have pointed above all, notwithstanding, and things like that are kind of add more information. You want to add more information. Furthermore, moreover, in the meanwhile, additionally, in addition to, there are a lot of signal words for adding more information. The second one is comparing two similar points. If you want to compare two similar points, you say similarly, in comparison with, as pointed out above. So, while on the other hand, if you want to show contrasting viewpoints, you say, however, on the other hand, in contrast, yet. So these are some of the signaling words which can be used for contrasting viewpoints. I'm going to give you the entire work, this referential guide for you, so that you can go ahead with it. And I'll also upload this same class on YouTube as well. which will be useful for you. So the fourth one, show effect or conclusion. Therefore, consequently, as a result, as a conclusion, to conclude with, there are a lot of signaling words that can be used for conclusion, to show effect as well. So for emphasizing, if you want to reiterate on a particular point, emphasize on a particular point, you should have to mention significantly, particularly, or reflect sequence first, second. That's very important, by the way. Reflect sequence. If you want to arrange it properly, firstly, then that's one paragraph based on your first argument. Secondly, and finally, it all depends upon how you manage to do the context, manage to go ahead with the argument. So there are a lot of signaling for words given here. The use of the word moreover tells the reader that the next sentence will provide further evidence or information to support the statement made in the first sentence. Moreover, or additionally, similar kinds of signaling words are saying that, oh, so the reader is he has to develop some kind of curiosity, thinking, oh, definitely he has got more arguments on the same view. So on this in this particular context, so you are giving that amount of curiosity. You're sharing that amount of curiosity to the reader to complete reading your essay. So it also suggests that the writer strongly agrees with the first statement as well. So that is very important to how to structure the entire essay. And the final thing, as we discussed in the initial session, the final thing is always rereading or proofreading or revising. So revising, editing, and proofreading is very important as well. It is one of the essential part when it comes to preparing a final draft of your essay. So most writing will require several drafts and revisions in order to improve the clarity and structure. It is rare that a writer will make the very best decisions in the first draft. So if you're writing an academic essay, don't always go for the best draft or the best work within one sitting. You have to write, read, revise, edit, proofread, final draft, send. A lot of procedure is there. A lot of painstaking effort is there when you, otherwise you will have to face a lot of issues later. So none of the writer will make the best decisions in the first draft. It's important, therefore, that you leave time to edit, revise, and proofread your own work. But for an exam, it's not possible. I know that. But for your assignments and tasks other than your exams, for essays, you can edit, revise, and proofread your own work. Why editing? It's useful to think about writing and editing as two separate activities. So when you write your first draft, you need to free yourself up to explore, develop, and try out new ideas and approaches while you do the first draft. First draft, prepared it. After some time, you found a new point, a valid point to be included. Think of that, add here. So your work will grow naturally and will be less structured and more expensive. Working too much about editing at this stage may slow your progress and restrict your thinking. You can refine and perfect later on. Editing is about checking for sense, accuracy, and structure. It is a positive rather than destructive process. So editing is an important process while preparing an academic essay. Editing, we can go through these details when I upload it for you. Editing, these are some of the things that we have already discussed when we introduced the topic in the initial session. So that's all for today's session, where we stop with this revising, editing, proofreading for you. And then for the next session, we will deal with the essentials of sentence structure, a bit of understanding of the different kinds of sentences, the sentence structure, in fact, the kind of sentences, simple, compound, complex sentences, the different structures, then the different kinds of lengths of sentences, and paragraphs, the constructing paragraph, the different kinds, to go into the depth of analysis of a paragraph of the essay. We will deal it in the next session. And with proofreading, editing, and revising, we are going to stop this session for you to revise it, for you to understand more about it on a later stage. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Stay safe.
Thank you, sir.